Okay. Soon we will all be together. We've got almost everyone back. Wow. I hope you guys still have your energy with you. I'm probably physically designed, or at least designed in my brain to enjoy this kind of interaction. It's part of what really nourishes me, is connecting folks who are looking forward and filled with hope and excitement and a tinge of fear and uncertainty. You guys are at a crossroads as you're beginning this search that's just really important and really energizing for folks like me and my team. But I realized just 90 minutes into our shared experience today that I'm a little tired, which makes me think, wow, this was good. Like, people were on and asking great questions, and our folks were trying like crazy to answer them in a tight time frame. So I'm back to a message I want to bookend. This is the beginning of a journey. Many of you guys are already on it. If your family has started the process and you've either connected with Amara, can you wave, Amara? If you can see her, that's Amara Cunningham, and she manages the logistics in our office wonderfully. You may have been on the phone with her or on email with her, or you may already be in our online system. But the way we approach admissions is that as soon as we've got you into our database, we will try to introduce you to your admission counselor, and then we're trying to connect you through a process. And if it's safe to have you on campus, we want you on campus. And there are some things that we can do on campus and some things we can't do on campus. So we're using remote to be as flexible as we can be. And that lets us get you into the class that didn't meet on the day that you visited, but it also lets us connect you with the alum who has the same interest that you are developing, or with the parent of an alum who's from the same hometown in Indiana or whatever. And we feel like our job is to share with you as much of the school as possible, because at the end of the day, what we really want in the admissions office is a widely diverse and divergent group of students who might make up a terrific next generation of Putney students. And we want you to understand the place. We don't want there to be any questions you're nervous about. We don't want to have you feeling like we hid anything. We really are invested in transparency and direct and clear communication. And this is just the beginning of a long conversation. We hope you'll be excited about engaging. If you didn't get to ask your question, please use your email to let us know that you didn't get to ask your question and you want to get some feedback on it. We will connect you with the person who can give you the best answer, or if we have it, we'll do that too. Admission folks, I need your help because my brain is a little excited and I'm not sure if I missed any threads that are really important to underscore at this point.
The only thing that I would hop in and say is that one of the things that we wish we could show during our open house is our campus and do a tour, but it's really hard to do that with a big group. So if you want to come, not necessarily come, but if you want to see campus, we're doing virtual tours, and you can email Amara or one of us and we'll set one of those up for you. And it's a great way to have another one-on-one with a student and see what campus looks like.
Additionally, if you are wanting to take a tour, we can also set up something for you that gives you a chance to talk one-on-one with other students and teachers. So parents, if you want to talk to the humans in the natural world teachers, which are the teachers that teach our freshman curriculum, or if you want a chance to talk with Emily Jones, our head of school, or Emily Dixon, the calculus teacher, or any of our faculty or students that have particular or peculiar interests that your child also has, we'd love to do that. We'd love to have admission interviews with your students as they are ready for those. So you should have gotten an email from one of us at some point, and you can reply to that email, or you can go to our website and inquire, and then you'll get connected with one of us. But we're really excited to share Putney with you in a multitude of ways, and hopefully get you on campus in person at some point before you make an admission decision. So yeah, thank you.
And students, that message is the same for you too. We really value your initiative, so don't be shy. Folks, we want to honor the time boundary that we offered with one qualifier. It's 2:30, just about. You can jump off if you want to. And the qualifier is, if you really feel like you needed to ask a question, I'm happy to stay on for a few extra minutes. So you can stay on the call and we can try to field a few last ones. But otherwise, please don't feel badly about jumping off and enjoying what I hope is a beautiful Saturday afternoon for you. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you soon.
Okay. Hello. I have a question, maybe the last question.
If you can pause just for one
right.
moment, I want to give people a chance to get off, and that way the people who stay on will be able to listen to your question. Okay, can you identify yourself? There you are.
Yes.
It's Nadine.
Hi. Yes. So I'm not Nadine. I'm Nadine's mom.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. And I was always interested in Putney because I've heard it different venues. I have a question because now my daughter is thinking of Putney, and she's a biracial kid and girl. And so I would like to know what is your diversity situation in terms of, faculty, because I think she has to see herself also,
Yeah.
faculty and students in southern Vermont.
Yeah, I think you already know part of the answer because you identified the geography, and it's not what we want it to be. And actually, Lisa, you're not on my first screen, but I think you're on my second screen.
Lisa's here.
Lisa, if you are game to, is she still here?
Yes.
Here. When you're looking at the BIPOC community of students, I think, John, correct me if I'm here, I think it was 11%, and these are all self-reported numbers. And in terms of faculty, I don't know the percentage, but the number 8 sort of sticks out. 8 faculty and staff of color in various departments and roles, campus-wide. And those are sort of the numbers. If you want to talk more about programming, we have a BIPOC student group. This year we're implementing a white anti-racist student group to do some learning on that end. We've done over the last 2 years, so I've been here 2 years, and previous to my tenure, I know there was sort of faculty workshops done, but I think with the national racial reckoning, we've done a lot of faculty workshops. We're having conversations with students, and that program is still developing, but I would say we're looking at all parts of our program with a diversity, equity, inclusion lens. And students are also a large part of that conversation, and what they would like that program to be, and they lead some of it, if that is their passion and interest.
We could also continue the conversation, and I could show you, and frankly, any numbers that you want to see. The school's commitment to social justice and to issues of diversity is pretty long-standing. And at different times, we've done better and worse in terms of measurable numbers. Lisa's arrival and her second year and the momentum that she's creating is definitely a new feature of the school, and it's creating a momentum, which is wonderful. But the kids have always been really quite dedicated to these conversations, and there's been, we're far from perfect, but there's been a freedom for kids to engage conversations across difference at Putney that is not culturally normed at most more traditional schools, and that's been a really wonderful part of the school. But we can definitely continue that conversation. Other folks have questions? Happy to try to help out.
Hi, John. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you identify yourself, please?
This is 718 number. This is Peng Hu. My daughter Ali interviewed with you and Jessica and Emily.
It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah, sorry,
again.
nice to hear you guys. Thank you so much for the information. Sorry, I was in a noisy environment with a cell phone, couldn't put on my name there. but I do have a question. Seems like there's some kind of structure of a shared governance by the students in the school. Like the previous student was talking about, she's in the board of trustees. I'm just wondering, could you talk a little bit more about sort of the opportunities for the students to develop skills in that, leadership or committee work and other opportunities that's available to the students?
Corinne, who is the student trustee that talked, said cheerfully that the students run the school, and I love that she thinks that. The students have ability and, in many cases, obligation to understand and be part of how the school runs at all levels. And that runs from the board of trustees to cleaning the toilets and washing the dishes at every level. That we use the running of the community as part of the curriculum. They need to know what it takes to make things happen and how to get things done. And it's not just for them. It's for the community. So there are lots of, I think we have, I don't know, Karen can correct me if I've got the number wrong, but I want to say 68 leadership positions of one kind or another. And that's students not just with a title, they're students who have to figure out how to get stuff done and how to get other students to do what they're supposed to do. There's a standards committee which oversees major discipline problems. There's a work committee which assigns all the student jobs and then has to deal with the kids that don't show up and do their jobs. There are dorm heads, as Corinne said. There's this powerful sustainability squad. There's this student diversity committee. I have people that run the outdoor program. So all of these organizations have adults with them, but we're not going to put things on a platter and hand it to them. They understand a lot more about fundraising than most kids ever get to see. When they come to me with bright ideas of what they want to do, they've already thought about the budget and they've already thought about who's going to be unhappy about it. And they've learned how to figure out what it takes to accomplish things in the world. And we let them practice on us because that's sort of what they need to know in the world. Not wildly efficient if you're trying to make a school that is running like, a well-oiled machine, but it's enormously educational. And it's a huge piece of the education that Putney allows. We had a group of students that decided several years ago now that they wanted our trustees to divest the endowment from fossil fuels. And they came with a bunch of demands, and the Board of Trustees talked to them and said, you don't know what you're talking about, go back to the drawing board, which they did. For a couple of years, they worked really, really, really hard. And then we're invited to actually come and question the school's current investment advisor about socially responsible investment. And at the end of that, this nice, shy little girl had made entire mincemeat of the poor man from JP Morgan. And we changed investment advisors. So the board understands that teenagers are not idiots. They need to be educated to learn how to make change in the world, but they're worth listening to. And the rest of us do that too. So if you're working at Putney at any level, you don't get to say, because I said so, right? You have to understand that students want to know the answer. And it doesn't mean they can have everything they want at all. Progressive does not mean permissive, but it means that we don't treat teenagers as if they're incompetent. And then they really do want to live up to the expectations that the school has for them. They want to be useful citizens.
I'd like to add one thread to what Emily was just saying about the kids having practice helping to lead and shape and guide a community. Schools are distinguished from one another by educational design and culture, especially where they intersect. And you'll see that as you look at different schools. There is no school that does a better job preparing kids to take up leadership, whether you use that term leadership or not. There's simply no other school that's got the courage to let kids take up the degree of responsibility that they can strive to take up at Putney. They won't always get it, but they can strive. And that practice is something they simply don't get at the, I don't care what brand list you've got. There's no school that compares on this one. Kids will choose Putney for lots of different reasons. But if you take that segment of our group, which is 25% of our kids are choosing Putney, and they could be choosing bluntly the schools at the very highest level of the lists that you've seen. They could be going to Exeter or Groton or any of them. What they get at Putney, they will not get at those schools, and it will prepare them for their responsibility, if they're chasing that, at college and afterwards in a way that other schools simply can't, because the adults won't step back far enough. And I just thought I'd toss that out assertively and energetically, because it's become really, really clear, especially these days. You guys had questions, that's why you stayed on. So what are your other questions?
I see that there was a question in the thread about trans students and sort of the culture for trans students. And I want to talk about that just a little bit. As a newer member of the community, I just joined last year, and in my life, I've never been in a community that is as inclusive, and I say this as a cis, straight woman, so it's possible that my perspective is quite limited. But in terms of what it looks like to me, the openness with which our students put their identity out there, explore their identity, explore and experiment with pronouns and names and the space that they have to share with the community. I'm going by they, them now. Those are things that happen quite often here. That's pretty new to me, coming from a space that was, that I didn't think of as quite that conservative, but it's very lovely to see students come into their own. I've had a number of students who are sort of a little wide-eyed about it, and it creates a space for them not only to sort of put themselves out there for the public, but in some ways to put themselves out there for themselves. I was talking with a student who felt like she just was starting to dig into places in her own identity that she hadn't really explored before. And we work hard to support that through our process, our systems. We work hard to find database systems that will honor pronouns. We remind each other regularly. It's quite normal for people to slip up and for someone to say they, them, or that, that's not what they're using, identifies as he, him. And so this is a place where that's actually, I think, pretty comfortable for students, to the extent that these issues are comfortable, to be themselves. And it's pretty encouraging to be in a position to support that.
Thank you very much, Karen. There was a question about acceptance rate. Putney accepts about 50% of our kids, and about just shy of 60% of those accepts end up deciding to enroll. Both of those numbers are a little unusual, but that's been pretty consistent. How do you support kids with different learning styles, ADHD, et cetera? Does anybody want to dive in on that one? Emily? Okay.
I'll do it real quick. We have a learning center. It's right over there. It's right in the middle of campus. It's not tucked away someplace where you go if you're not good at something. It operates both as a place where kids can get specific learning support for things that they know that they need to work on, or can just drop in because they have an English paper to write and would like some help with it. We've got some very highly qualified tutors. Landmark College is right down the road, and we hired some of their best people to come and work in our learning center. So they're not just people sort of that used to be teachers and decided to do it differently, but they've got a lot of training and have themselves helped train the faculty in how to teach to different kinds of learners. Our faculty has gotten quite good at sort of being able to see what's sitting in front of them, and work with kids both who do know what their learning issues are and kids that have no idea, and need to be able to begin to see what their own strengths and weaknesses are. But I also think that the Learning Center director and John are in really good communication. And so if you have a student that, you understand what their particular issues are, our Learning Center director is really good at knowing whether that is a kid we can serve and what we can do and what we can't do here.
This is also that space of intersection of ed design and culture. And what Karen was saying about kids feeling safe and having a sense of belonging here, there's a really almost explicit agreement among kids. You get to be you as long as I get to be me. I would argue that that's also the agreement that adults have, which makes for a very comfortable community. And that includes differences around learning. So it's not at all unusual for kids to say, I need help with this. And we encourage them down that road. And a data point for that is that maybe 25, 30% of the kids at any one time will be making use of that Center for Teaching and Learning. Everything from kind of hand-holding on a tough math test all the way to diagnosed learning differences. But over a student's 4-year journey at Putney, the proportion that's using the support is probably closer to 45%. So it's literally, there's no marginalization at all. It's a pretty normal thing to say, I need help. And the teacher will usually be able to engage them and will bring in the CTL when that's necessary. Do we require SSATs this year? Our stance on SSATs is that we ask for them, and then when families say, there's a pandemic, I can't do them, or my kid gets super anxious with standardized testing, then we have a conversation. It's always case by case. We will happily look to other kinds of testing reports that might give us the insights that we get from SSAT. I'll mention, since I'm trying to underscore the difference between Putney and most traditional schools, we do not have cutoffs, we don't have a floor or a ceiling. Our median SSAT or standardized percentile score is about 72nd percentile, which is reasonably high. But we've got kids well into the 90s, and we've got kids who have a score below 20s. So it's not a cutoff situation for us. We're just trying to learn about kids' learning profiles. Other questions? Yeah.
Sarah's going.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. So this all sounds so wonderful and sounds like a wonderful extension, everything you've talked about my child's kindergarten through 8th grade experience. We've been very lucky to be in a school that sounds like the younger version of everything that you're saying.
Which
and
school
now
is it?
we come to high school, Cambridge Friends School.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And so now we come to high school, and I shouldn't have said what school she's in. Now I don't know what to say.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Shoot. Now I don't know how to be politic about it. I am concerned about her academic preparation. Right? So everything about the student leadership, including everybody, the things that she can talk about in terms of understanding the nuances and the complexities of the world. Amazing. But I'm looking at some of her writing and at some of her, like she's doing a practice SSAT and she doesn't know what a preposition is, So we'll do what we can do now for high school. But my question to you would be the same question about 4 years from now when she's looking at colleges.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard any talk about sort of the academic preparation. And that's for real. All this other stuff is super for real too.
Yeah.
Emily's the right one for this. I'm so glad you asked that question.
I'll grab that really quickly. Progressive pedagogy, progressive education done well is much harder for the kid than the traditional kind, because our teachers do not tell them the answers, right? They actually have to figure out a lot of stuff and learn. And the outcome is that not only could they regurgitate a whole bunch of stuff on a test, but they actually know what they know and how to explain it. Couple examples. Our math students all have to keep a math notebook in English that writes down calculus in English and explains what it's doing. If you take AP Calculus, you learn how to manipulate all the symbols really, really well, right? You don't actually have to have the faintest notion what it all means or what it's useful for, right? So when our kids go to college, we see them getting bumped up in math, whereas kids coming out of AP are almost routinely asked to take calculus again as a freshman in college, because they don't actually know what calculus is, they just know how to do it, right? we had a kid that came in as a new junior who had done AP Physics someplace else. And we put him in physics. And he said, "This is so hard." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because the teacher doesn't tell us the answers, right? That you have to derive the formula yourself and figure it out, right?" So we probably cover less content, but we do much greater depth and actual understanding of how the learning all fits together. And so they know what they know, and they know how to do what that is good for, knowing why you know that and what it does for you and how it connects to other things. Our kids do nicely getting into college, and they do nicely when they get there. And it's because they understand both themselves as learners, as John was saying before, but have been doing the work of the learning rather than simply absorbing it like a sponge that gets squeezed out on the test.
Sarah,
And that's why we have so many kids that actually do access the Learning Center, because the work is hard, right? They need help sometimes, and they need a confidence boost that they actually can figure stuff out.
It's also a gargantuan positive for us when we're going through the admission process and we're having the conversation that you just started, regardless of which school you're coming from. Because if the parent knows that there are some areas that they're perceiving as, eek, I thought she or he would be further along on that. That gives us both an explanation when we look at the writing and say, what's going on? There's going to be some context for that. It's also going to help us build a path. I'm thinking, Jessa, of one of our students from a Boston area school that had an educational journey that wouldn't come anywhere near a Cambridge Friends. This kid had had a really challenging, difficult time. There were periods of time when we think he may not have been in school on a regular basis. And he was motivated, and he had real deficits. And he was motivated. And the cultural fit was strong for different reasons than your kid might have a strong cultural fit, but still. And he landed, and we knew what we needed to work on, and the path was set. The kid's in his 11th grade year now, and he's not going to be at the top of the class in every class. That's not happening. But my goodness, the progress that's been made, and his ability to both now be motivated and capable. And then the context and the culture are a strong fit. He's going to be nicely positioned for college, and he's going to have an interesting story to tell. So I hope that helps. I hope we get a chance to talk more about it, because it's an interesting question. Other parents with other questions? You guys look so relaxed. I'm so impressed. I was scared to death when I was in your shoes. Yes, Sarah?
Hi, this is actually her mom, Dawn. I just had a question. I understand from your website that you guys take, I think, your own application, the application through SAO, and then as a gateway to prep. Is there, is there one that's preferred for you guys over the other, or any?
No, they're the same. They're exact. We basically configure the gateway and the SAO as mimics of our questions. So there's no real difference in the questions that the kid would be following. It's really what's easiest for you. If you're applying to a bunch of schools, SAO is a terrific way to do it.
So the essays will be a little different between them, or the same?
No, the prompts are exactly the same. And for those of you who haven't seen the application, it's really cool, because we give you a bunch of prompts, and the student gets a chance to choose not only what their response is going to be, but whether they're doing it in writing or orchestrating music or singing or doing a dance. As long as they can respond to the prompt, we're really inviting them to bring as much of themselves as they're willing to share. We're very excited about that.
Great.
And that's the case whether it's SAO or Gateway. Yeah, other questions?
Just quickly, my husband was under the impression that possibly we both needed to answer, which we're happy to do, the parent prompts, but then it occurred to me that you didn't maybe want to read 6 different parent essays. One per question per parent would be sufficient.
You know, it's interesting.
Either way.
Look, everything's diagnostic, and it's all good data. If you guys feel like you want to offer each separate answer, that will teach us something, and that's fine with us.
Okay.
For what it's worth, most applications come in with collaborated unified essays, but sometimes not, and it's really up to you.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. Other questions? You guys, good for you. All your energy and patience. I really hope we get a chance to meet you face to face. And if not face to face, remotely, please be in touch with any questions at all. And we will follow up with a thank you in one of those quick surveys so that we can design the next open house even better than this one. But thank you so much for sticking with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Emily and Jessa. Thank you.
Take
And
good
everybody else.
care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It